Chosen one, there's a reason your spirit pulled you here today, and it's not a video, it's a visitation. Tell me something. Why do you think you're awake at this exact hour? Why did your thumb stop scrolling right here, right now? Why does your heart feel like it's listening for something it can't quite name? Here's what nobody told you about divine appointments. They don't announce themselves with trumpets. They whisper through Wi-Fi signals and YouTube algorithms. They find you when you're tired, when you're doubting, when you think God has forgotten your address. But chosen one, He hasn't forgotten. You've been carrying a weight, haven't you? That gnawing feeling that you're behind, that your breakthrough got lost in the mail, that everyone else got the memo about success except you. You've been faithful in the silence, generous in the drought, believing when believing felt foolish. And now the 30th of July and 31st are about to prove that your faithfulness was being recorded. This isn't content, this is confirmation. Not entertainment, it's an encounter. If your spirit is already resonating, if your heart is whispering, "This is me," comment "I receive it" below. Let heaven mark this moment. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share will either sound impossible or inevitable. There's a divine transaction that's been approved in your name, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Not through your hustle, but through His heart. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes I'll share the one moment in your life that changed everything, and you didn't even know it. Before we go deeper, let me say this with all sincerity. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead. But right now, right where you are, whether you're in your car, your kitchen, or lying in bed, wondering if tomorrow will be different, I need you to understand something. The 30th of July and 31st aren't just dates on your calendar, they're divine coordinates. Heaven's GPS has been calculating your breakthrough, and you're about to arrive at a destination you never saw coming. The whisper you weren't supposed to miss? It's this message. Right now, in this moment, and what happens next will prove that some promises are worth the wait. Are you ready to discover why? Why did your childhood feel different? Why did you always sense there was more to your story than what others could see? Why, even in your darkest moments, did something inside refuse to let you quit completely? Because you weren't just rescued from hell, you were marked for heaven's mission. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. There's a difference between being saved and being selected. Salvation gets you into the kingdom, but selection gets the kingdom into you. And that's why your life has felt like a battleground instead of a playground. People look at your journey and see scars. God looks at your journey and sees preparation. They see your struggles, He sees your strengthening. They see your delays, He sees your development. Because you weren't just pulled out of something, you were being prepared for something. Think about this. Why you? Out of 7 billion people on this planet, why did the Creator of the universe choose to interrupt your ordinary Tuesday with an extraordinary calling? Why did He mark you with a burden for justice when others sleep peacefully with injustice? Why did He give you eyes that see what others miss, ears that hear what others ignore? Because blueprints were hidden under the old paint of your life. People only saw the surface, the mistakes, the setbacks, the seeming failures. But heaven always saw the design beneath your disappointments. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? That restlessness you've carried since you were young. That feeling that you were born for something bigger than paying bills and dying. That sense that your pain had a purpose, that your trials had a target, that your wilderness had a why. The prophet Jeremiah heard these words, "Before I formed you in the womb I knew you. Before you were born I set you apart." Set you apart for what? For marking, for mission, For moments like the 30th of July and 31st, when heaven decides to prove that your patience wasn't pointless. But here's what most people don't understand about being marked by God. It comes with a price tag. The very thing that makes you chosen also makes you a target. The very anointing that qualifies you for breakthrough also attracts spiritual warfare. The very calling that elevates you also isolates you. That's why your relationships have been complicated. That's why money has been inconsistent. That's why doors that opened easily for others seemed sealed shut for you. Because you weren't marked for easy, you were marked for impact. And impact requires preparation that most people wouldn't survive. Look at David, marked as a teenager, but didn't touch the throne until he was 30. 13 years of caves, betrayal, and running for his life. Why? Because shepherding sheep doesn't prepare you to rule nations. But dodging spears, hiding in caves, learning to worship in the wilderness, that's king training. Look at Joseph, marked with dreams at 17, but didn't interpret for Pharaoh until he was 30. 13 years of slavery, false accusations, and forgotten promises. Why? Because managing your father's flocks doesn't prepare you to manage a nation's famine. But learning leadership in chains, maintaining integrity in prison, that's prime minister preparation. There's a pattern in your life, one you haven't seen yet, but when I show it to you, everything will shift. Every time you thought you were losing, you were actually learning. Every time you thought you were failing, you were actually being formed. Every time you thought God had forgotten you, He was actually fashioning you. The rejection you faced, it was protection from settling for less than your destiny. The closed doors, they were redirection toward your divine appointment. The financial struggles, they were preparation for managing supernatural abundance without losing your soul. You see, when God marks someone, He doesn't just give them a calling, He gives them the character to carry it. And character isn't developed in comfort. Character is forged in crisis, refined in rejection, and perfected in pressure. That's why the 30th of July and 31st aren't just random dates on your calendar. They're divine coordinates marking the end of your preparation season and the beginning of your manifestation season. The payoff for everything you've endured. The reward for everything you've remained faithful through. But here's the urgent truth you need to understand. Being marked isn't automatic permission to receive. It's an invitation to believe. God has already approved the blessing, but you have to align with the timing. You have to position yourself to receive what's been prepared. Some of you have been so wounded by delay that you've stopped expecting anything good. Some of you have been so disappointed by false promises that you've built walls around your hope, but those walls that protected you from further hurt are now preventing you from future harvest. The very faith that sustained you through the wilderness is the same faith that will position you for the promised land. The very trust that carried you through the cave is the same trust that will crown you in the palace. If you've ever wondered why your road was heavier than others, why your tests lasted longer, why your breakthrough seemed further away, type "I was chosen" below. Let your agreement speak. Let heaven know you understand. The weight you've been carrying wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Because what's coming on the 30th of July and 31st isn't just compensation for what you've lost, it's commission for what you're about to gain. And the magnitude of your reward will finally match the magnitude of your calling. Are you ready to discover exactly what that means? You know the nights, the empty fridge, the rejection letters, the funeral prayers. You've lived through things people write books about, and you're still here. But let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if I told you that every single tear you cried, every sleepless night you endured, every moment you wanted to quit, but didn't? What if all of that wasn't punishment? What if it was preparation? Chosen one. You've been walking through a divine refinement process, and you didn't even know it. Remember when they left? Remember when the person you trusted most packed their bags and walked out of your life without explanation? Remember how that abandonment felt like it ripped your soul in half? You thought it was the end of your story. But God was writing a different chapter. He was removing someone who couldn't handle where you were going. Remember the diagnosis? Remember sitting in that sterile doctor's office, hearing words that made your world stop spinning? Cancer, diabetes, heart disease, depression so deep you couldn't see daylight. You thought it was a death sentence. But you're still breathing, you're still fighting, you're still here. Remember the check that didn't come? Remember opening that mailbox day after day, hoping for relief that never arrived? Remember the electricity getting cut off? The embarrassment of borrowing money from people who looked at you with pity? You thought God had forgotten your address, but He was teaching you that your provision doesn't come from man, it comes from Him. And yet, here you are, still standing, still believing, still breathing. Job 14:7 says, "For there is hope for a tree, if it is cut down, that it will sprout again." You've been cut down so many times you lost count. But every single time, new growth emerged. Every single time, you found strength you didn't know you had. Your tears weren't weakness, they were receipts, and heaven kept every single one. The Bible says in Psalm 56:8, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." God didn't waste a single moment of your pain. He was collecting evidence of your endurance, building a case for your breakthrough. But here's what the enemy didn't want you to know. Your survival wasn't accidental. It was supernatural. You survived the betrayal that should have destroyed your ability to trust. You survived the financial collapse that should have left you homeless. You survived the loss that should have killed your faith. You survived the sickness that should have taken your life. You survived the depression that whispered lies about your worth. Why? Because you're not ordinary. You're chosen. The enemy tried to take you out early because he saw what was coming. He saw the 30th of July and the 31st of March ked on heaven's calendar. He saw the divine transaction that was already approved in your name. So he threw everything he had at you, hoping you'd quit before your payday arrived. But you didn't quit, did you? When everyone else would have given up, you kept going. When logic said surrender, your spirit said survive. When circumstances screamed defeat, your soul whispered victory. Right now, if you know this word is yours, comment "I'm still standing." Your survival is sacred. You see, chosen one, what you've been through wasn't random suffering. It was strategic strengthening. God has been building muscles in your faith that you'll need for what's coming. He's been developing endurance in your spirit that will carry the weight of your destiny. The empty bank account taught you that God can make a way out of no way. The broken heart taught you that your worth isn't determined by who stays or goes. The sleepless nights taught you how to commune with heaven when the world goes quiet. The unanswered prayers taught you that sometimes God's silence is His protection. Every single struggle was a classroom. Every single trial was training. Every single tear was a tuition payment for a degree in divine dependence. And now, as you stand on the threshold of the 30th of July and 31st, you're not the same person who entered that season of testing. You're stronger, wiser, more rooted, more resilient. You've been forged in the fire of adversity and emerged as pure gold. The enemy tried to bury you, but he didn't know you were a seed. What's about to happen in your life will vindicate every moment of pain. Every person who counted you out will witness your comeback. Every door that slammed shut will watch new ones swing wide open. Every voice that said impossible will hear heaven say, "Watch this." Your struggle wasn't your end. It was your enrollment in a divine university where pain professors taught you lessons that success never could. You graduated, chosen one, with honors, with distinction, with supernatural resilience that can't be taught in textbooks. And now it's time for your commencement ceremony. The 30th of July and 31st aren't just dates on a calendar. They're your graduation gift from the God who saw you through every semester of suffering. But here's the question that will determine everything. Are you ready to receive what your survival has earned you? These days weren't circled by chance. They were chosen by covenant. Listen to me, chosen one. Right now, as I speak these words, there are forces beyond your understanding aligning in your favor. You think the 30th of July and 31st are just another Tuesday and Wednesday on your calendar. But heaven sees them differently. Heaven sees them as delivery days. You've been living in the valley of almost breakthrough, almost blessed, almost there. You've watched others get their miracle while you held on to promises that felt like they were written in disappearing ink. You've tithed from your last $20. You've praised when your heart was breaking. You've declared victory when everything around you screamed defeat. And you wonder, does God see me? Let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. Every tear you've cried in secret has been collected in heaven's bottles. Every prayer you whispered when hope was hanging by a thread has been recorded in eternity's archives. Every seed you planted in barren ground has been growing in dimensions you cannot see. The 30th of July and 31st aren't just dates, they're divine delivery days. The prophet Isaiah said, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." God's delivery system doesn't follow FedEx schedules or Amazon Prime timelines. It follows covenant promises. Picture this with me. A yes after 1,000 no's. A deposit that wasn't even expected. A phone call that rewrites your next decade. An opportunity that finds you instead of you chasing it. A door that opens so wide you can't even see the frame. A breakthrough so sudden your neighbors will wonder what happened to the person they thought they knew. That's not wishful thinking. That's prophetic reality. You see, God has been building your testimony in the basement while the world watched your struggles on the main floor. Every rejection was redirecting you toward divine selection. Every closed door was protecting you from settling for less than what heaven had prepared. Every delay was heaven saying, "Not yet, because what I have for you requires perfect timing." But here's what's going to shock you. When the 30th of July and 31st arrive, you won't be able to trace the blessing back to your efforts. You won't be able to connect the dots to your strategy. You won't be able to explain it to people who live by logic alone. It won't be logical. That's why it'll be undeniable. This isn't a payment from people. It's a payout from God. Remember Job? After losing everything, after 42 chapters of suffering, God restored double. Not gradually, not over decades. The Bible says, "The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part." One divine moment changed everything. One heavenly transaction erased years of pain. That's your story being rewritten right now. You've been faithful in the famine. You've been generous in the drought. You've kept believing when believing felt like foolishness. And heaven has been taking notes. Heaven has been calculating interest. Heaven has been preparing a payday that will leave you speechless. The 30th of July and 31st aren't just dates. They're divine delivery days. But let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. What if the very thing that's been breaking your heart has been breaking you open for something bigger than you imagined? What if your pain has been your preparation? What if your wilderness has been your workshop? Moses spent 40 years learning to be nobody before God could use him to be somebody. David spent years running from Saul before he could run a kingdom. Jesus spent 30 years in obscurity before 3 years changed eternity. Your obscurity is over. Your season of silence is ending. Your time of preparation is complete. I'm telling you by the Spirit of the living God. There's money moving in your direction that doesn't have your name on it yet, but heaven knows your address. There are opportunities being prepared for you by people who've never met you. There are doors being oiled that you've never knocked on. The psalmist declared, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Your night season is about to end. Your morning is named the 30th of July and 31st. You think you're waiting on God. But God is waiting on the perfect moment to shock you with His goodness. You think you're behind schedule, but you're right on time for a divine delivery that will make up for everything you thought you lost. Here's what I need you to understand. When this happens, and it will happen, don't you dare apologize for being blessed. Don't you dare shrink when favor finds you. Don't you dare explain away what God does for you just to make others comfortable. Some people won't understand how it happened so fast. They'll look at your life on the 1st of August and wonder what changed overnight. Let them wonder. Your testimony doesn't need their approval. Your blessing doesn't need their explanation. The 30th of July and 31st aren't just dates. They're divine delivery days. The question isn't whether this will happen. The question is, are you ready to receive what you've been believing for? Are you prepared to handle the weight of answered prayer? Are you ready to steward the overflow that's about to flood your life? Because what's coming isn't just for you, it's coming through you. You're about to become a distribution center for heaven's blessings, a living testimony that God still shows up and shows out for those who trust Him in the darkness. But before we go deeper into how to prepare your heart for this divine delivery, I need to address the one thing that could block your blessing, the one mindset that could cause you to miss your moment, the one lie that's been whispering in your ear, trying to convince you that you don't deserve what God has prepared. Are you ready to silence that voice forever? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What's happening on the 30th of July and 31st isn't just about your bank account. That's the surface. That's what your neighbors will see. But you and I both know there's a currency heaven deals in that Wall Street has never traded. The money is part of it. But the message is deeper. This is back pay for every silent yes you gave in the dark. Do you remember that night 3 years ago when you said yes to helping that family, even though your own lights were about to be cut off? Do you remember choosing to tithe when logic screamed you couldn't afford it? Do you remember staying faithful to that marriage, that job, that calling when quitting would have been easier? Heaven was taking notes. Every act of obedience when no one was watching. Every moment you chose faith over fear. Every time you gave when you were empty. God was writing receipts in the spiritual realm, and now those receipts are being cashed. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you have been convinced that your faithfulness doesn't matter, that your quiet acts of love went unnoticed, that your tears fell on deaf ears. You've watched others prosper while you struggled, and doubt whispered, maybe God plays favorites. No, beloved. God doesn't play favorites. He plays faithful, and your faithfulness is about to pay dividends that compound interest can't calculate. Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." Your tears weren't wasted water. They were seeds planted in heaven's soil. And the 30th of July and 31st are harvest time. This divine payout operates in kingdom currency. Peace that doesn't make sense when your circumstances should steal it. Honor that elevates you in rooms you never applied to enter. Clarity that cuts through confusion like a sword. Restoration that gives back what the enemy thought he'd stolen forever. Some of you are about to receive phone calls that change everything, not because you networked your way into favor, but because heaven opened a door no man can shut. Others will see financial breakthroughs that accountants can't explain, debt cancellations that lawyers didn't negotiate, opportunities that headhunters didn't arrange. But the deepest payout, the one that will bring you to your knees in gratitude, it's the vindication. After years of being misunderstood, overlooked, underestimated, heaven is about to vindicate your character in public for the pain you endured in private. They'll ask you how it happened. How did your life turn around so suddenly? How did that door open? How did that breakthrough come? And you'll struggle to explain it because it wasn't your strategy that did it. It was your surrender. Isaiah 61:7 promises, "Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion." Double portion, chosen one. Not just what you lost back, but double what you lost back. Not just healing, but flourishing. Not just survival, but overflow. And here's the part that makes the enemy tremble. This payout isn't just for you, it's generational. What happens to you on the 30th of July and 31st breaks cycles that have plagued your family line for decades. Poverty mindsets shattered, depression defeated, addiction conquered. You're not just being blessed, you're becoming a blessing that echoes through your bloodline. But I need you to understand something that will either offend you or free you. This level of divine favor requires a different level of faith. It requires you to believe you're worthy of it, even when your past argues otherwise. It requires you to receive without guilt, to prosper without apology, to shine without shrinking. Some of you have been faithful in the small things for so long. You've forgotten you were created for great things. You've been managing lack for so long, you're afraid of abundance. You've been surviving for so long, you don't know how to thrive. But God is saying, it's time to learn. Lift your hands, even now, if this is your moment of divine repayment. Say it. I receive divine return for every tear, every trial, every not yet. Because here's the truth that will set you free. Your obedience was expensive. It cost you sleep. It cost you relationships. It cost you opportunities that seemed better in the moment. You paid the price when the check seemed like it would never come. But heaven keeps perfect books. And on the 30th of July and 31st, heaven is balancing the ledger. They won't understand how it happened. Your skeptical relatives won't understand. Your jealous co-workers won't understand. Even you might not understand. But you will know, because you know obedience was expensive, and heaven is paying in full. The question that will determine everything is this. Are you ready to stop managing small and start stewarding significant? Because what's coming requires a bigger you. Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. What's about to happen on the 30th of July and 31st isn't just a personal breakthrough. It's a generational reset. God didn't bring you through hell just to hand you heaven for yourself. He's positioning you as the turning point in your family tree. You think this blessing is about your bank account? Think bigger. You think this favor is about your circumstances? Think deeper. This is about bloodline transformation. This is about becoming the ancestor your great-grandchildren will thank God for. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there are children not yet born whose destinies are tied to what you're about to receive. There are teenagers in your family line who don't know that their college education is wrapped up in your obedience today. There are marriages not yet made that will be strengthened by the foundation you're about to lay. God didn't bless you to hoard, He blessed you to hand it down. Do you understand what that means? Every tear you cried in secret wasn't just healing your heart, it was breaking generational curses. Every prayer you whispered in poverty wasn't just asking for provision, it was purchasing freedom for your descendants. Every time you chose faith over fear, you weren't just changing your story, you were rewriting your family's entire narrative. Your grandchildren will live off the prayers you prayed in poverty. The healing you're walking into will ripple through your entire bloodline. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Here's where most people miss it. You've been thinking too small because you've been hurt too deep. You've been asking God for enough to survive when He's been preparing you to establish. You've been praying for relief when He's been orchestrating a revival that starts with your house and spreads through every generation that carries your DNA. The enemy didn't attack you this hard because you were weak. He attacked you this hard because he could see what God was building through your bloodline. He saw the pastors, the entrepreneurs, the healers, the leaders that would come from your loins. He saw the wealth, the wisdom, the worship that would flow from your family tree. So he tried to cut you down before you could plant the seeds. But you didn't break, did you? You bent, but you didn't snap. And now God is about to prove that what was meant to destroy your lineage has actually strengthened it. Think about Abraham. God didn't just promise him a blessing. He promised him that through his seed, all the families of the earth would be blessed. One man's obedience became the foundation for nations. Your obedience on the 30th of July and 31st is setting the same kind of precedent. Think about Ruth. She made one decision to stay loyal, and her great-grandson became King David. One woman's faithfulness changed the entire trajectory of Israel's royal line. Your faithfulness through this season is positioning your family line for royalty. Think about Hannah. She prayed one desperate prayer for a son, and that son became the prophet Samuel, who anointed kings and changed a nation. Your desperate prayers aren't just being answered, they're producing prophets in your family line. But here's the part that will shock you. The blessing coming on the 30th of July and 31st isn't the inheritance. It's the down payment. It's God showing you what He can do when you become a conduit instead of a container. When you learn to receive with the intention to release, your children are watching. Your grandchildren's spirits are listening. Even the ones not yet conceived are being affected by the spiritual atmosphere you're creating right now. The words you speak in faith today will become the foundation they build their dreams on tomorrow. This is why the warfare has been so intense lately. This is why the pressure felt personal. Because it is personal. Not just to you, but to every generation that will carry your name, your blood, your spiritual DNA. The enemy knows that if he can break you, he can break a whole lineage. But if God can bless you, He can bless a whole bloodline. The money that's coming isn't just for your bills, it's seed money for family businesses. The doors that are opening aren't just for your opportunities. They're creating pathways for your descendants to walk through. The favor you're receiving isn't just for your lifetime. It's establishing a heritage that will outlive you by centuries. You are not the end of your family's struggle. You are the beginning of your family's triumph. You are not the last to suffer. You are the first to soar. The generational curses stop with you. The generational blessings start with you. So let me ask you this. If this isn't just for you, but for those coming after you, if your obedience today is setting up your family line for generations of victory, what names are on your heart right now? What faces are you seeing? Type their names below. Let's release a family legacy that will echo through eternity. Because chosen one, you're not just receiving an inheritance, you're becoming one. You thought that breakthrough was the finish line, didn't you? That unexpected check, that sudden door opening, that person who finally said yes after months of silence. You celebrated, you thanked God, you felt the relief wash over you like warm rain after a drought. But chosen one, what if I told you that wasn't your destination? It was your invitation? Heaven knows how to bait a trap not for your enemies, but for your destiny. That blessing you just received, that miracle that made you weep with gratitude, wasn't the end. It was the hook. Listen to me carefully. The fish never knows the hook is holy, but the fisherman does. God has been setting you up, and you didn't even know it. Every answered prayer, every breakthrough, every moment when heaven seemed to finally remember your address, those weren't random acts of divine kindness. They were strategic positioning. They were bait. And you, precious chosen one, you took the bait. You thought God was finally paying you back for all those years of faithfulness, all those nights of tears, all those seasons when your bank account looked like a graveyard and your dreams felt like ghost stories. You thought He was settling the debt. But what if He was actually making a down payment? What if every blessing you've received in the last 6 months was God's way of getting your attention, of proving His faithfulness, of earning your trust, so you'd be ready for what's really coming on the 30th of July and 31st? Think about it. Really think about it. When the widow gave her last 2 coins in Mark 12:42, she thought she was giving everything. But Jesus saw something different. He saw someone who understood the principle of divine multiplication. And what happened? Her story has been told for over 2,000 years, inspiring millions to trust God with their last. She thought she was ending her resources. God knew she was beginning her legacy. You see, the Lord operates on a level that would blow your mind if you could see the full blueprint. That promotion you got 3 months ago, that wasn't just God being nice. That was God positioning you for influence. that relationship that got restored, that wasn't just about your happiness. That was about aligning your support system for what's about to require both hands. That sudden peace you felt when you stopped worrying about money. That wasn't just stress relief. That was God removing the anxiety that would have blocked you from receiving what He's about to release. Every single blessing has been preparation, not compensation. And here's where it gets really wild. God has been watching your response. How did you handle that unexpected $500? Did you hoard it? Or did you honor Him with it? How did you treat people when things started turning around? Did you get proud, or did you get more grateful? Because, chosen one, God doesn't just bless people, He qualifies them. And you've been in qualification season without even knowing it. Every test you passed, every temptation you resisted, every moment you chose worship over worry, those weren't just spiritual exercises. Those were entrance exams for a dimension of favor you can't even imagine right now. But here's what's about to blow your mind. In Malachi 3:10, God says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." Did you catch that? So much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. That's not a trickle. That's not even a stream. That's a tsunami of supernatural provision. And the 30th of July and 31st, that's when the floodgates open wide. But here's the setup you didn't see coming. Those recent blessings you received, they weren't just rewards, they were capacity builders. God was literally expanding your ability to handle overflow. He was stretching your faith, your vision, your expectation. Because what's coming requires someone who can think bigger than their current reality. What's coming requires someone who won't be intimidated by supernatural increase. What's coming requires someone who won't faint when favor starts flowing faster than they can process it. You thought God was blessing you because you were faithful in little, but He was actually preparing you to be ruler over much. You thought He was rewarding your past, but He was preparing you for your future. And that future has coordinates, the 30th of July and 31st. The bait worked, chosen one. You trusted Him with small. Now He's about to trust you with significant. You proved you could handle blessing without becoming arrogant. Now He's about to prove that His goodness has no limits. Every door that opened was practice for the doors that are about to swing wide. Every check that came was training for the wealth that's about to flow. Every confirmation you received was preparation for the confirmations that are about to overwhelm you. God set you up, not to hurt you, but to help you. Not to trick you, but to train you. Not to play with you, but to position you. And if you can feel something stirring in your spirit right now, if something inside you is saying, "This is bigger than I thought," if your heart is beating faster because you sense you're standing at the edge of something extraordinary, then you're feeling the pull of destiny's fishing line. Comment below, "God set me up for more," because that miracle wasn't the payoff, it was the pull-in. And what you're about to be pulled into will make everything you've experienced so far look like the opening act. The main show is about to begin. Are you ready for your close-up? You've been reading your life like it's random, but heaven's been writing in scrolls. The 30th of July wasn't the end of a chapter. It was the cracking of a seal. Chosen one, let me tell you what's really been happening while you thought you were just surviving. While you were checking your bank account with trembling fingers, wondering if this month would be the month you finally broke, heaven was preparing a parchment with your name written in gold. Not typed, not printed, written by the finger of God Himself. You know that feeling you get at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep? When your heart pounds and you wonder if you've missed something crucial? That's not anxiety, beloved. That's your spirit, recognizing the sound of seals breaking. 7 seals, and yours is about to crack wide open. The Bible says in Revelation 5:5, "Behold, the Lion of Judah has triumphed. He is worthy to open the scroll." But here's what they didn't teach you in Sunday school. Those scrolls aren't just ancient history. They're active documents. And right now, Jesus is walking toward your scroll with the authority to break every seal that's been keeping your breakthrough locked away. You want to know why the 30th of July and 31st? Because that's when your scroll gets unrolled in the courts of heaven. That's when the Lion of Judah says, "Enough. This one has waited long enough." But let me ask you something that's going to shake you to your core. What if every rejection you faced was actually protection? What if every door that slammed shut was actually God saying, "Not yet, because what I have planned is so much bigger that if you got it too early, it would have destroyed you"? Think about Joseph. 13 years in slavery and prison. 13 years of people saying, "Where's your God now?" But when Pharaoh's dream needed interpretation, there was only one name on heaven's roster. Joseph didn't apply for the position. The position waited for Joseph. Your position has been waiting for you. Every tear you cried in secret was a signature on a heavenly contract. Every night you prayed with nothing but faith to hold on to was another page added to your scroll. Every time you gave when you had nothing left to give, heaven said, "Mark that down. We owe this one." And now the accounts are being settled. But here's where it gets controversial, and I need you to hear this clearly. God doesn't owe you anything because you're good. He's paying you because you're chosen. There's a difference. Good people get what they deserve. Chosen people get what they never could have earned. You've been walking around thinking you're behind in life, thinking you missed your moment, thinking God forgot your address. But what if I told you that you're not behind, you're being held back for a specific release date? What if your delay was actually divine positioning? The enemy has been whispering lies to you, hasn't he? You're too old, you're too broke, you're too damaged. But every one of those lies is about to be exposed when the 30th of July and 31st prove that God specializes in the impossible cases. Moses was 80 when he got his burning bush. Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Anna was 84 when she saw the Messiah. Your age isn't disqualifying you. It's qualifying you for something the young couldn't handle. Here's what's really happening in the spiritual realm right now. Angels are moving resources. They're repositioning people who need to say yes to you. They're clearing obstacles that have been blocking your path for years. They're preparing hearts to receive you, minds to recognize your value, and hands to write checks with your name on them. But I need to prepare you for something. When this breakthrough comes, it's going to be so sudden that people are going to ask you, "How did this happen?" And you won't have a logical answer. You won't be able to trace it back to your networking or your strategy. You'll stand there knowing it was nothing but the unmerited favor of God. Some of you are going to get phone calls that change everything. Others are going to receive emails that open doors you never even knocked on. Some will find money in accounts they forgot they had. Others will have debts mysteriously forgiven. But all of you, every single one of you hearing my voice right now, are going to experience the reality of Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. Exceeding abundantly. That's not just a little bit more. That's so much more that you'll be embarrassed you ever doubted God's ability to provide. But here's the question that's going to determine everything. Are you ready to receive without guilt? Are you prepared to be blessed without shame? Because what's coming isn't just provision, it's position. What's coming isn't just money, it's mandate. What's coming isn't just breakthrough, it's breakthrough with assignment attached. Your scroll is opening, chosen one. And when it fully unfurls, everyone is going to see what heaven has been writing about you all along. The question is, will you be ready to step into what's already been written? Chosen one, let me tell you something they don't preach about in prosperity sermons. The moment God says yes to your breakthrough, hell says attack to your peace. You thought the warfare would stop when the blessing arrived, didn't you? You believed that once the 30th of July and 31st delivered what heaven promised, the voices in your head would finally quiet down. But here's the raw truth nobody prepared you for. After the Red Sea parted, Pharaoh didn't surrender. He chased harder. That's why the warfare increased. Because what's on you now threatens everything that tried to bury you. Right now, even as divine compensation flows toward you, there's a storm brewing inside your spirit. Old wounds are reopening. Past failures are whispering louder. And that voice, you know, the one, it's telling you that you don't deserve what's coming. Blessed, but still bleeding. This is the paradox of the chosen. You can be walking in favor and still feel broken. You can have money hitting your account and still hear poverty screaming in your ears. You can be loved by God and still feel unworthy of human affection. Moses experienced this. After witnessing the greatest deliverance in human history, what did he do? He smashed the tablets. David wrote his most desperate psalms after he became king. Even Jesus, moments before his greatest victory, cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" The pressure you're feeling isn't punishment, it's preparation. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. He's not fighting your past anymore. He's fighting your future. Every doubt that surfaced this week, that's not your voice. Every fear about handling success, that's not your wisdom. Every whisper telling you to stay small, stay safe, stay silent, that's the sound of desperation from a defeated kingdom that knows its time is up. But you need to hear this. Clearly, trauma has a terrible timing. It doesn't attack when you're broke and broken. It attacks when you're blessed and about to break through. It waits until you're one step away from your promise. Then it screams, "Remember what happened last time? Last time you trusted someone, they betrayed you. Last time you believed God for something big, it didn't happen. Last time you let your guard down, life knocked you unconscious. And now, with the 30th of July and 31st approaching like divine thunder, that old trauma is throwing a tantrum. It's afraid. Because it knows that when this payout arrives, its power over you expires. Let me ask you something that might hurt. Have you ever felt guilty for finally receiving what you prayed for? Have you ever sabotaged a blessing because you didn't feel worthy of it? Have you ever pushed away good people because bad people taught you that's what love looks like? If that's you right now, if your spirit is screaming yes to every word I'm saying, then say it out loud. Lord, I don't want to sabotage this. Because here's what I know about you, chosen one. You've been faithful in the wilderness for so long that you forgot how to live in the promised land. You've been surviving for so many years that you don't know how to thrive. You've been defending yourself from attack for so long that you don't know how to receive love. But God is about to retrain your nervous system. He's about to reprogram your default settings. He's about to teach you that blessing isn't the exception, it's your new normal. The Bible says in Joel 2:25, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." But notice it doesn't say, "I will restore some years," or "I will restore when you're ready." It says, "I will restore," present tense, active voice, divine commitment. That restoration includes your ability to receive without guilt, to be loved without suspicion, to succeed without sabotage. The warfare is intense right now because the enemy knows something you're still discovering. The 30th of July and 31st aren't just bringing you money. They're bringing you home. Home to who you really are. Home to what you really deserve. Home to a version of yourself that isn't defined by what broke you. Every tear you cried in secret is about to be converted to treasure. Every prayer you whispered in desperation is about to manifest in demonstration. Every time you chose faith over fear, even when faith felt foolish, is about to pay dividends in your divine account. But first, you have to survive the storm within. You have to recognize that the pressure you're feeling isn't God second-guessing his decision about you. It's the birth pains of your breakthrough. When a woman is in labor, the contractions don't mean the baby isn't coming. They mean the baby is almost here. And right now, you're in spiritual labor. The pressure isn't trying to kill your promise, it's trying to deliver it. So when that voice tells you you're not ready, remember, God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. When it whispers you're not worthy, remember, worthiness isn't based on perfection. It's based on position. And your position is chosen. The storm within is temporary. But what's coming through the 30th of July and 31st? That's eternal. And the question that will determine everything isn't whether you deserve it, it's whether you'll receive it. Will you let the pressure push you back into old patterns? Or will you let it push you forward into new possibilities? You thought the door was to the bank, but heaven says, that was the lobby. Now I'm taking you to the back room. Listen to me, chosen one. There's something about July that most believers miss completely. They think it's just another month on the calendar, another 31 days between June and August. But July isn't just a month, it's a master key. And what happened in your life this July wasn't random, it was reconnaissance. God was watching how you handled the small openings so he could trust you with the vault. Think about this. Jesus said in Luke 16:10, "Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much." But here's what the church won't tell you: that verse isn't about money. It's about access. It's about clearance levels in the kingdom. It's about earning your swipe card to heaven's restricted areas. July was your security clearance test, and you passed. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think divine favor is about getting blessed once and calling it good. They think one breakthrough equals arrival. They celebrate in the lobby while heaven is trying to take them to the penthouse. You've been settling for surface miracles when God wants to give you systemic access. Let me ask you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. How many times have you thanked God for a blessing and then immediately went back to begging? How many times have you received a financial miracle only to stress about next month's bills? How many times have you experienced God's provision and still lived like an orphan? That stops now. Because what the 30th of July and 31st are about to unlock isn't just money, it's access to a frequency where money flows toward you instead of away from you. It's access to a dimension where opportunities recognize your name before you even apply. It's access to a realm where favor isn't seasonal, it's systematic. David understood this. In Psalm 23, he didn't say, "The Lord is my provider when I'm in trouble." He said, "The Lord is my shepherd." Present tense, permanent position, consistent access. You see, there are secret doors behind every public miracle. When Jesus fed the 5,000, everyone saw the multiplication. But only the disciples saw him pray first. Only they saw the source. Only they got access to the back room where miracles are manufactured. That's where you're going. July unlocked your eligibility for kingdom clearance. But the 30th of July and 31st, that's when you get your badge. That's when heaven hands you the swipe card that opens doors you didn't even know existed. But here's what's going to shock you. These doors don't open with your effort. They open with your expectation. They don't respond to your hustle, they respond to your humility. They don't require buttons, just obedience. Elisha knew this secret. When his servant saw the enemy army surrounding them, he panicked. But Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes." And suddenly the servant saw what was always there: chariots of fire, an invisible army, resources that existed in a dimension just beyond natural sight. That's what's happening to you right now. Your spiritual eyes are being opened to see the access you already have but haven't been using. But let me warn you about something. Not everyone in your life is qualified to walk through these doors with you. Some people are lobby-level believers. They're comfortable with casual miracles and weekend worship. They don't want the responsibility that comes with kingdom access. And that's okay. But you're different. You've been tested in the wilderness. You've been refined in the waiting room. You've proven you can worship in the dark and give in the drought. Heaven has been watching. And now heaven is responding. The access coming on the 30th of July and 31st will feel like elevators that require no buttons, just the right clearance level. You'll walk into situations that should require connections, and doors will open because of your spiritual authorization. You'll receive calls that bypass normal channels. You'll get opportunities that skip the waiting list. This isn't favoritism, it's faithfulness rewarded. But here's the part that will revolutionize your thinking. This access isn't just for you. You're being granted clearance because God needs you to escort others into breakthrough. You're getting backstage passes because you're meant to bring people with you. The Israelites thought the Red Sea miracle was about escape, but God was actually giving them access to a promised land. The miracle wasn't the destination, it was the door. And what God is about to do for you isn't just about solving your current problems. It's about positioning you as a solution for other people's problems. You're not just getting blessed, you're getting commissioned. Say it with me. I won't stop at the lobby. I will walk through every door heaven opens. Because what's waiting behind the second door isn't just provision, it's your promotion into kingdom influence. But before you can step through that door, you need to understand something crucial about the timing of divine access. And that's exactly what we need to discuss next. Listen. Do you hear that? That sound rushing through your spirit right now isn't anxiety. It's not restlessness. It's the sound of heaven's breath calling your name. You weren't randomly selected for this moment. You were summoned. For decades you've been asking the wrong question. You've been asking, when will my time come? When heaven has been whispering, your time is now. You've been wondering if God still remembers your dreams, your prayers, your sleepless nights of surrender. But chosen one, he hasn't just remembered, he's been preparing. The 30th of July and 31st aren't just dates circled on heaven's calendar. They're the coordinates where your calling collides with your compensation. But here's what's going to shock you. You're not here just to receive a blessing, you're here to be revealed. Think about Moses, 80 years old, tending sheep in the wilderness, probably wondering if his best years were behind him. Then God showed up in a burning bush and said, "Now I'm sending you to Pharaoh." Not when Moses was young and strong, not when he felt ready, when he felt forgotten. Why? Because God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And you, chosen one, have been in divine boot camp. Every rejection taught you resilience. Every delay developed your character. Every closed door was redirecting you to this door. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How long are you going to keep playing small? How long are you going to keep whispering when God gave you a voice that can shake nations? How long are you going to keep hiding your light under the bushel of, "I'm too old, I'm too tired, I've missed my chance"? The enemy has been feeding you lies about expiration dates. He's been whispering that your season has passed, that your dreams have deadlines, that your impact has limits. But I'm here with a word from the Lord. It is never too late to be who you were meant to be. There's a trumpet in the spirit right now, and it has your name in the sound. Can you hear it? It's not calling you to retirement, it's calling you to revival. Sarah was 90 when she birthed Isaac. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain." Moses was 120 when he climbed Mount Nebo with the strength of a man half his age. Anna was 84 when she recognized the Messiah and became the first evangelist. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your liberation. Because while others are just figuring out who they are, you know who you are. While others are still making mistakes, you've already learned the lessons. While others are building foundations, you're ready to build legacy. But here's the controversial truth that's going to shake some people. God is about to use you in ways that will make younger people jealous. Your wisdom, your experience, your depth, your proven faithfulness. These aren't consolation prizes, they're your credentials. The world told you to step aside. God is saying, step up. The world told you to slow down. God is saying, speed up. The world told you your best days are behind you. God is saying, I saved the best wine for last. The 30th of July and 31st are marking the moment when heaven stops honoring your humility and starts honoring your calling. You've been faithful in the little. Now he's about to trust you with much. But I need you to understand something that's going to challenge every fiber of your being. You're not just chosen for favor, you're chosen to carry fire. You're not just called to be blessed. You're called to be a blessing. You're not just destined to receive, you're destined to release. This is where it gets dangerous for the enemy. Because a senior citizen with a God-given assignment is the most dangerous weapon in heaven's arsenal. You have nothing to lose and everything to give. You have no ladder to climb and no image to protect. You're not trying to impress anyone, you're just trying to impact everyone. Look at your hands right now. Those hands that have worked, worried, wept, and waited. God is about to fill them with authority you've never carried before. Those feet that have walked through valleys, stood on battlefields, and danced through victories. God is about to send them to places you never imagined. Your voice, weathered by years of wisdom, seasoned with experience, deepened by pain and sweetened by joy, that voice is about to speak words that will shift atmospheres, break generational curses, and birth miracles. The fire mantle that's been hovering over your head for decades is about to fall. The wind of the Spirit that's been circling your life is about to rush in. The calling that's been dormant is about to explode. This is not where you stop. This is where you stand up. You're not just chosen for favor. You're chosen to carry fire. You're not retiring from purpose. You're graduating to it. And the 30th of July and 31st, they're not just payday, they're deployment day. The compensation you receive isn't just reward for your past, it's funding for your future. It's seed money for the ministry, the mission, the movement God is about to birth through you. You've been an oak tree, pruned for decades, weathered by storms, deepened by drought. But chosen one, the season of pruning is over. Now it's time to spread your branches and watch the nations find shade under your wisdom. But here's the question that will determine everything. Are you ready to stop being a secret and start being a sign? Chosen one, as we close this sacred encounter, I need you to hold on to 3 unshakable truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, the 30th of July and 31st are not random dates on your calendar. They are divine appointments sealed by heaven's hand. Your breakthrough isn't dependent on your perfection, your performance, or your past. It's anchored in God's faithfulness to His own word. He who began a good work in you will complete it. Second, every delay you've endured, every door that seemed permanently closed, every dream that appeared dead, none of it was wasted. It was all preparation. God has been building your capacity to carry what's coming. Your character has been refined in the furnace of waiting, and now you're ready for the weight of glory. Third, you are not called to be ordinary. The fire that's about to fall on your life, the wind that's about to rush through your circumstances, the calling that's about to be revealed, this is not just for your comfort. It's for your commission. You are chosen to carry light into dark places, hope into hopeless situations, and breakthrough into barren ground. But here's what I want you to know with every fiber of your being. You are not walking this path alone. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who stopped the sun for Joshua, who raised Jesus from the dead, that same God is working in your life right now. He hasn't forgotten your name, your needs, or your dreams. He's been orchestrating everything for this very moment, and you're surrounded by a community of believers who understand your journey. Right here in these comments, there are prayer warriors ready to stand with you. There are chosen ones who've walked similar valleys and can testify to God's faithfulness. You are part of a family that spans generations, united by faith and fueled by hope. Let me ask you this. If God showed up in your life tomorrow in an undeniable way, if the 30th of July and 31st truly marked the beginning of your greatest chapter, would you be ready to step into the fullness of who He's called you to be? Before you answer, let's seal this moment in prayer. I want you to imagine I'm right there with you, my hand on your shoulder, speaking these words directly over your life. Heavenly Father, I stand with my brother, my sister, who has had the courage to listen to this message today. Lord, you see them right where they are, in their kitchen, their car, their quiet place of seeking. You know the weight they've been carrying, the dreams they've been protecting, the faith they've been fighting to maintain. Father, I speak over them right now that the 30th of July and 31st will indeed be marked by your supernatural intervention. Let every promise you've whispered in their heart become a reality they can touch. Let every door that needs to open swing wide. Let every provision that's been delayed be released with divine acceleration. Break every chain of doubt that's been wrapped around their mind. Silence every voice that's told them they're too late, too old, too forgotten. Awaken the fire that's been dormant in their spirit. Restore the dreams that have been deferred. Vindicate their faithfulness with visible breakthrough. Lord, surround them with divine protection as they step into this new season. Give them wisdom to steward what you're about to release. Give them strength to carry the weight of their calling. Give them courage to walk boldly into the destiny you've prepared. And Father, let them feel your presence right now. Let peace flood their heart. Let hope rise in their spirit. Let them know, beyond any shadow of doubt, that you are with them, you are for them, and you will finish what you started. In the mighty name of Jesus, I seal this prayer and this promise. Amen. If this message has stirred something in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below and let us know how God has been speaking to you. Share your prayer requests. This community will surround you with intercession. Tell us what you're believing God for as we approach these divine dates. And please share this message with someone who needs to hear it. There's someone in your circle, a family member, a friend, a neighbor, who's been waiting for hope. They need to know they're not forgotten, they're not finished, and their greatest days aren't behind them. If this is your first time here, welcome to the family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because God is moving in unprecedented ways, and you don't want to miss what He's saying to His chosen ones. Thank you for staying with me through this entire message. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what God wanted to deposit in you today. Thank you for being part of a community that believes in miracles, stands on promises, and refuses to give up on God's goodness. Remember, chosen one, the 30th of July and 31st are coming. Your breakthrough is on the horizon. Your time is now. Until we meet again, walk in the confidence of who you are, rest in the certainty of God's love, and step boldly into the future He's prepared. You are chosen, you are loved, you are not alone. God bless you.